Gathered from many places in this shared space, gathered from many lives in this shared time, gathered as friends and strangers in this one community, gathered with heartache and with hope. May we greet this sacred hour with gratitude, and the stranger with love, and the friend with warmth, and the Spirit with reverence as we come together in worship. And now we light our chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, and on this December 21st, just a few hours after the winter solstice, on this, the shortest day and longest night of the year. If ever there were a time for a candle in the darkness, this would be it. Using a spark of hope, kindle the flame of love, ignite the light of peace, and feed the flame of justice. I invite you all to rise in body or in spirit and join me in singing our opening hymn. It's number 346, Come Sing a Song with Me. And the words will also be on the screen.
That I might know
invite you to remain risen as we say our affirmation together, which we say both in English and in Spanish, as a reminder of the many languages spoken in this community and beyond, the many languages of the heart. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek truth in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls may grow into harmony with the divine. This do we covenant with one another. El amor es la doctrina de esta iglesia. La búsqueda de la verdad es su sacramento y el servicio es su oración. Habitar juntos en paz, buscar la verdad en libertad y servir a la humanidad juntos, con el fin de que todas las almas puedan crecer en armonía con lo divino. Esto es lo que pactamos unos con otros.
We light this chalice in recognition of the Tamian and Muwekma Ohlone indigenous peoples who were the first humans to inhabit and sustain this land thousands of years before settler colonizers arrived. We honor the resilience of these indigenous peoples in the face of devastating harm, and we lift up their neighboring descendants, the Ama Mutsun tribal band, with whom we are working to preserve their sacred land of Eurostok and to ensure that their culture continues to thrive. Good morning, and welcome to the First Unitarian Church of San Jose. My name is Joyce Miller, and my pronouns are she and her, and it's my pleasure to serve as the worship associate for this morning. This is a place where you can bring your whole imperfect self and find love and acceptance. Our Unitarian Universalist values of equity and pluralism call us to celebrate that we are all sacred beings and every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish. Today we celebrate the winter solstice, the longest night of the year, and the fourth and last Sunday of Advent, symbolizing love. Our theme for this service is finding hope in these troubled times. I want to extend a special welcome to those who are visiting today. Please join us after the service in Hattie Porter Hall through those double doors for coffee, tea, and snacks, and visit our newcomers table where you can find out more about our church and our denomination, Unitarian Universalism. If you want to receive our weekly email about church activities and the upcoming services, you can sign up at the welcome table or you can email office@sanjoseuu.org. If you need a listening ear this week, please get in touch with Pastoral Associate Barbara Grover, right here, and she will be at our Pastoral Associate table. Welcome, and now we want to welcome everybody who's joining us via Zoom, and we'll take a moment to say hello to them, and the camera will be going around the sanctuary so you can wave when it comes your way. And those are our folks. Thank you. It's so nice that we can all be together.
Every Sunday during Advent, we've woven the lighting of the candles in our wreath into our worship service. The first candle we lit in the name of hope. Not just what we long for, but our trust for the best within us to rise and to grace the many endings and beginnings of our lives. We lit the second candle in the name of peace, the courage to soften and to cultivate our ability to stay present in difficult moments. We lit the third candle in the name of joy, the abiding faith that joy upholds, unfolds whenever we're able to enter and consent to the practice of opening to possibility. This morning, we light the fourth candle in our Advent wreath in the name of love. We light it as an invitation for the holy to dwell within us, deepening our capacity for love, and to be watchful of love's presence among us. May we be open to the love that awaits us in the weeks to come. And as we prepare to bring new possibilities to life, may love guide us and be a creating force in our lives. And now, I should say, I'm the Reverend Matthew McHale. I don't do the welcome often, so sometimes I forget to say that. But I'm Reverend Matthew McHale. My pronouns are he, him, and it is my pleasure to serve this congregation as its minister. And now I'd like to invite those who are young or young at heart to join me here in the labyrinth. I noticed that there were a few youngsters downstairs in a stairwell earlier when I was coming up. So maybe they could be invited up, if or not. But anyone who is young or young at heart, I invite you to come forward and join me here in the labyrinth for our story for all ages. I've been told it's not just young at heart, but also young in the knees is an important piece of it as well. So, as I mentioned before, today is, come into the labyrinth. Come on, have a seat. As I mentioned before, today is the winter solstice, which is the longest night and the shortest day of the year. And so I have a story to tell you. It's a story that comes out of the pagan tradition. It's rooted in Celtic paganism. And it's a story of two different brothers, the Holly King and the Oak King. Now, in the time before we had clocks and calendars, which helped us to tell the time, these two brothers ruled the turning of the year. The Oak King commanded the season of growth. His strength peaked when the sun blazed the longest and crops stood thick in the fields. The Holly King held his dominion over the season of rest. His power was greatest, when nights stretched deepest, and the earth lay dormant under the snow. And they had battled for this balance since time began, neither good nor evil, but both necessary. And at each solstice, one would yield to the other, one would give in to the other, in an ancient ritual as reliable as the sun rising each morning. But this particular winter, as the Holly King approached the height of his reign, something changed. The people, shivering in their homes, began to curse the cold. "Why must we endure such hardship?" they complained. "Why can't summer last forever?" The Oak King, sleeping deep in the earth, as he always did during his brother's rule, heard these cries, and for the first time in eons, he began to question the old ways. "Perhaps they are right," he thought. "Perhaps I should refuse to yield come summer solstice. I could spare them this suffering." When the winter solstice arrived and the Holly King came to pass the crown, the Oak King was nowhere to be found. The Holly King searched the frozen forest, finally discovering his brother hiding in a cave deep underground. "It's time," the Holly King said simply. "No," the Oak King replied. "I've seen what winter does to them. I won't put them through another one." The Holly King studied his brother with eyes like a December morning. "And what do you think will happen if summer never ends?" "Well, they'll be happy, warm, fed." "For how long?" the Holly King asked. "What happens to soil that never rests, to seeds that never experience cold, to people who never learn to appreciate what they have?" The Oak King turned away. "I don't care. I choose hope. I choose to believe there's a better way than suffering." "Then you choose poorly," the Holly King said, not unkindly. "That's not hope. That's fear of necessary things." For 3 years, the Oak King held on to summer. At first, people celebrated. It was bright and warm all the time. They weren't chilly. They didn't have these short days. But gradually, the endless heat became a curse. Wells full of water ran dry. Crops, exhausted from constant growing, of never having a chance to rest, began to fail. The soil turned to dust. Animals collapsed from a heat that they couldn't escape. People began to gather in the town square, not to celebrate, but to demand answers. "Where's the winter?" they cried. "We need rains. We need the rest." An old woman stood on a stone and spoke what others feared to say. "We were fools." That's right, we were fools to curse the cold. Winter brings the snow that becomes spring's water. Winter gives the earth time to gather strength. Winter reminds us to appreciate warmth when it returns. The Oak King, watching from his endless summer throne, saw the wisdom in her words, but pride kept him silent. It wasn't until someone had died of thirst because there was no water that the Oak King finally understood. Hope wasn't about avoiding difficulty. It was about trusting that difficulty had meaning, that darkness served light, that endings made space for new beginnings. And he walked to the place where the Holly King waited. patient as winter itself. "I was wrong," the Oak King said. "I thought hope meant preventing hardship, but real hope means trusting the whole cycle, even the parts that are challenging." The Holly King nodded. "Hope isn't the belief that things will be easy. It's the conviction that difficult things have purpose." And so, once again, they performed the ancient exchange of power, and winter finally came. The people who had learned to appreciate what they'd once cursed welcomed the cold as they would welcome rain after a drought. And the cycle began again, as it always had, as it always would, not because it was comfortable, but because it worked. Because sometimes choosing hope means choosing what's necessary rather than what's pleasant or easy. Because wisdom lies not in avoiding winter, but in trusting that winter leads to spring. So, as the rain has started, which I know some of us may be going, I was like, I'm not looking forward to a wet Christmas this year. It's like, really, is this the weather we're going to have? But on the other hand, I know that that's what we need. We need this time of rest. And of course, for those of us in California, we need this time of rain that this season brings. Well, thank you for joining me. And I invite us, before our children go off to their religious education classes, I invite us to join in singing our children's blessing, which the words will hopefully be on the screen in a moment. There's some hand motions that go with the song. There we go. There's some hand motions that go with the song. If you know it or if you don't know it, it's pretty easy to follow along.
Now is the time when we take an offering. And the words today are an excerpt from Jessica Lynn. This haven, this refuge, this place of worship and wonder exists because we make it so, with our contributions of gifts, time, skills, love, laughter, and money. Please join me in giving so that we may continue to have a place that fortifies and challenges us in these trying and troubled times. Thank you. Thank you for helping us make love visible in all that we see and do.
The Alegria singers are presenting 3 selections this morning, each representing different aspects or regard of the solstice on the solstice morning. Our first selection was performed at the beginning of the service by our quartet, entitled Hátíð fer al hundum ein, an 18th century Icelandic folk song utilizing 1930s text. The text is complicated, it's very symbolic, it's poetic, and it's esoteric in nature, and its vivid imagery is a true descendant of ancient Viking runes and thus does not lend itself well to translation. But the text asks us to heed this time with pious adoration and to be patient, as the holy times shall come soon. Our next song is a 2018 work by Irish composer and choral director Michael McGlynn. Bitter Wind is a setting of a medieval Irish text from a mid-9th century manuscript. The simplicity of the song's structure combines with the underlying directness of the medieval text, rife with alliteration and a contemporary ambient accompaniment track, telling the tale of fear and the violence of the natural world balanced against the violence of humankind. These are people for whom hope was very hard to find. The text is translated as, "Bitter is the wind tonight. It tosses the ocean's white hair. I fear not the coursing of a clear sea by the fierce heroes from Lothland or Norway." This is Bitter Wind.
Isake inge thinokt. Fufus nafar gefindult. Niachore moramin. Iri oro iro. Isacher ingeth in ocht. Fufus nafar gefindult. Niachore moramin. Don lag ledla non loglin. Iri oro iro. Iri oro iro. Iri oro iro. Iri oro iro. Isaker ingeth in ocht. Fufus nafar gefindult. Niachore moramin. Don lakrela non lotlin. Iri oro iro. Iri oro iro. Iri oro iro. Iri oro iro. Isacher ingeth in ocht. Isacher ingeth in ocht. Fufus nafar gefindult. Niachore moramin. Don lakrela non lotlin. Iri oro iro. Iri oro iro. Iri oro iro. Iri oro iro. Isacher ingeth in ocht. Isacher ingeth in ocht. Isacher ingeth in ocht. Isacher ingeth in ocht. Isacher ingeth in ocht.
Having heard that song, which is unlike anything I have ever heard in church before, and quite full in its stark way, I'm going to shift around my order just slightly. Because to me, that song calls up, makes a space for the difficulty, for the hardship of winter, which in some ways is a good lead-in to sharing our sorrows, but perhaps not our joys. And so I offer this alternative way of looking at the season of cold, at this season of darkness. I invite you to join me now in a moment, in a time of meditation or prayer. I did not write down the author of these words, and so I'm trying to will them to the forefront of my mind. I can picture his face. Spirit of darkness, in this season of long nights and afternoon twilight, we look for peacefulness in the familiar rhythms of earth and air. The turning of the solstice, the gentleness of the winter's dark. In this season of rest, we remember the seeds that depend on the blackness of earth, the trees dormant and animals hibernating. The nurturing redemption of this time of year. And we honor the darkness. In this season of cold, we reach out to each other in community and connection, reminded time and again that we need one another in labor and in laughter, as hands and as spirits, in hope and in help. May this for us be a season of song and spirit, of gifts unsought and unexpected, of renewal, of love, and of sacred wonder. Amen and blessed be. Those were the words of Dan Schatz. We come together in community to share with one another, to support one another when those bitter winds blow, and to celebrate with one another when there is great joy. As we begin our time of sharing joys and sorrows, we know that there are both great sorrows and great joys in our world that must be acknowledged as well. We light our first candle to honor those in pain, victims of violence and war and oppression all around our world. We light a second candle because we understand that in the midst of all that pain, there is also celebration and joy in our world. We honor that joy and sorrow are woven together. If you have a joy or sorrow you'd like to share, please come forward to light a candle. You may also simply light a candle in silence. You can come up this back way and queue up here. This is a time for the tenderness of what is in your heart, not for announcements or political speeches, knowing that this is a sacred space and mindful of the diversity of experiences and beliefs among us. And please keep it brief. And always, if you need a listening ear this week, if lighting a candle is not enough, after the service, you can stop by the pastoral care table in Hattie Porter Hall, where you can actually light another candle, but also talk to our pastoral associate of the week, or you can always email pastoralassociates@sanjoseuu.org at any time. Remember that you are not alone. Joyce is wondering, what are we doing? Yes, the sung meditation. I invite you to join me in singing Dark of Winter. It's number 55 in the gray hymnals. The words will be on the screen as well.
Let my
Last summer, I experienced a low point in my life where I was having a hard time finding hope. And I received an email from Krista Tippett, an author and spiritual guide I have followed for several years, inviting her readers to participate in a journaling exercise on finding hope called Hope, Imagination, and Remaking the World. I thought, this is exactly what I needed. And she wrote, and I quote, "Nothing new has ever entered this world without someone who first imagined a possibility that others could not yet see or believe in, and then brought realities into being that most could not later imagine the world without." And continuing, she says, "This invitation to practice hope as an act of imagination with real-world consequences, a muscular hope that refuses to accept given realities and throws one's whole intelligence, creativity, and courage behind that insistence." And she concluded, what we practice, we become. The first assignment was to examine the idea that imagination has real-world consequences. Do I believe it? The first reality that came to me was marriage equality. I clearly remember the first time I heard about it at a PFLAG meeting in the early 90s. The overwhelming response was, well, that's never going to happen. But with powerful leadership, education of the public, and some 20 or 30 years later, and strong grassroots efforts, my son married his partner in 2013. One can also see it reflected in the act of imagination in Martin Luther King Jr.'s "I Have a Dream" speech, which shaped the civil rights movement. So yes, I do believe that imagination has real-world consequences. The second assignment was to answer the question, what is hope? Through writing the story of your life. I don't remember thinking much about hope when I was young. I do remember hearing in Sunday school that Jesus brought hope to the world, but I didn't understand what it meant. Yet, as a person who experienced abuse as a child, I knew I needed to find role models outside of my family of origin which would bring me hope. I remember looking for adults and teachers I could look up to for acceptance and support. I wasn't consciously looking for hope, but these supportive relationships helped me see that things could be different and gave me hope for a better future. At a particularly difficult time in my life when I was juggling being a wife, mother, and professional nurse, reading feminist texts such as Betty Friedan's Feminine Mystique and Gloria Steinem's Ms. Magazine helped me understand the challenges I was struggling with were real, and that my experiences were similar to those of many other women, and that I was not alone. I and so many other women could see that things needed to change. I continued through my life to seek out people whose lives inspired me and gave me hope. As I revisited my life story in this exercise, I became aware of how fortunate I was to find people who gave me hope when I really, really needed it. So for me, hope is not hard to find if you know where to look. And I want to close with more wise words from Krista Tippett. Enough of us see that we have a world to remake. We want to meet what is hard and hurting. We want to rise to what is beautiful and life-giving. We want to do that where we live, and we want to do it walking alongside others. For me, this church, all of you, are the others that I want to walk with.
Allegria's final musical gift for you today features the sopranos and altos of the choir presenting a 1934 carol by English composer Benjamin Britten. Not for Christmas, but a New Year carol. Britten sets a 19th century or possibly earlier Welsh lyric, Levy Dew. Like many carols, its origins and meaning remain a mystery, but both pre-Christian mythology and Christian imagery are in balance here. Because of the proximity to one another of the solstice and the calendar New Year, the New Year referenced in this song can be understood as either or both. This is Benjamin Britten's A New Year Carol.
A reading is How the Light Comes by Jan Richardson. I cannot tell you how the light comes. What I know is that it is more ancient than imagining. that it travels across an astounding expanse to reach us, that it loves searching out what is hidden, what is lost, what is forgotten, or in peril or in pain. That it has a fondness for the body, for finding its way toward flesh, for tracing the edges of form, for shining forth through the eye, the heart, the hand. I cannot tell you how the light comes, but that it does, that it will. That it works its way into the deepest dark that enfolds you, though it may seem long ages in coming or arrive in a shape you did not foresee. So may we this day turn ourselves toward it. May we lift our faces to let it find us. Now, to me, that reading almost feels like we're getting ahead of ourselves and turning towards the light. While so many of us find ourselves in the dark, maybe it is important to pay attention to that darkness. I expect many of us have had times right now or in the past where hope was hard to find. Looking at the world around us with wars and inequality, with declining trust and corruption and injustice and intolerance and instability, how can we find hope in the middle of all of this? To expect that things will get better can sometimes feel downright naive. Or maybe we're experiencing a more personal loss of hope or feeling of despair. Maybe one rooted in financial hardship, the loss of a job or a house. It might be the death of a loved one or the end of a relationship. Some of us struggle with traumas which unexpectedly resurface, fresh and painful. It might be an abusive situation that we feel trapped in, or the decline of physical or mental ability, a medical treatment we can't really afford, or a terminal diagnosis for which there is no cure. Yes, sometimes it feels like there's no hope to be found. But perhaps that's a misunderstanding of what hope means. I'll try not to retread too much ground that I covered a couple weeks ago where I talked about hope as something we choose, as an action. But it's important to say what hope is not, writes Rebecca Solnit in her book that I turn to over and over at this time of year, and sometimes others, Hope in the Dark. It's important to say what hope is not. It is not the belief that everything was, is, or will be fine. The evidence is all around us of tremendous suffering and destruction. It's also not a sunny, everything is getting better narrative, though it may be a counter to an everything is getting worse one. And so I think it's important here to clarify that hope isn't about what we can expect. It's not about certainty. Hope is the opposite of certainty. Because if there was certainty, one wouldn't need to hope. It's the possibility of finding a way through, even when things get really tough. I'm reminded of an expression used in the African American community: making a way out of no way. It's saying a reminder of what black folks have made it through, even when it didn't seem like there was a way. And I think it's true that in this moment we can find hope in knowing that people, many people, countless people, have made it through great crises before. Not everyone, mind you, not everyone makes it through those crises. But collectively, people do. Now, to think about hope this way, of all of the difficulties that people face, maybe a different way than many of us have come to think, particularly those of us grounded in kind of Unitarian Universalist thought, particularly Unitarian thought. The Reverend Krista Taves says, "The world has always been a hard place to be, and for more than 2 centuries, the Unitarian side of our heritage has offered hope of a very specific kind: optimism. Our Unitarian forebears believed deeply in human goodness, and that because of our inherent goodness, there's nothing that we can't do to make things right. The idea that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice, quoted by Dr. Martin Luther King and Barack Obama, among others, is actually a paraphrase of Unitarian minister Theodore Parker. Taves writes, "Our hope has been anchored in optimism that good will eventually prevail and that we will be okay. But in recent decades, many Unitarian Universalists have been questioning this. Not that we need to give up on hope or the potential for great goodness in ourselves, but this optimism that we're so good we can solve anything seems really naive." Now, I think many of us have seen over the past decade or so that maybe things aren't bending towards justice. Now, Taves continues, "One of the reasons that we've been seriously questioning this ultimate faith in human goodness is because there have always been people in our congregation who cannot take for granted that things are always going to improve and may struggle more to believe that humans are ultimately good because of their lived experience. Now, we have always had people in our congregations," she writes, "queer people, trans people, and non-binary people, undocumented people, disabled people, poor people who have experienced over and over that when solidarity demands a cost, when it risks certainty, status, or comfort, those you hope are in your corner often back away. Laws can't be trusted. People in power can't be trusted. White people can't be trusted. Men can't be trusted. Straight people can't be trusted. Rich people can't be trusted. Human systems can't be trusted." I don't mean any of those individually, I mean them collectively. This week, as the Trump administration attempts to impose a new mandate that would basically outlaw, that would effectively prevent gender-affirming care for trans and non-binary minors, that sense that things will get better or that people will have your back, It gets tested. And it's been tested for so many people, for people of color, for immigrants, for poor people. That's not to say that there aren't good people. Indeed, I would say the majority of Americans are good people who care about these things, but maybe not enough when it comes down to it. It's an important reminder that we need to show up. Krista Taves writes, "It's the voices of those who have been repeatedly failed by humanity that are drawing our faith, our Unitarian Universalist faith, practice beyond optimism, beyond the well-worn cliches and into covenant, into relationship, into promises made and betrayed and remade, into a kind of hope that is durable and can weather the storms that we face." And I believe part of what that takes is that we need to figure out how we will live in this world before we can effectively hope for the world to come. In her book, Blessing the World, the Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker says, the traditional response of religious liberalism, which for those of you who didn't go to seminary, religious liberalism is Unitarian Universalism. That's a whole other sermon, though. The traditional response of religious liberalism is to place our hope in the future that a new age will dawn. I have done my share of calling for the end of evil empires and announcing that the promised land is just around the corner, but I have come to believe that we need to let go of this religious myth. We need to face more honestly the conditions of devastation that we are in the midst of here and now. We need to see ourselves as people living in the aftermath of cataclysmic violence rather than as people awaiting the overthrow of the present world order and the birth of the new. We must see the world as it is, focusing our attention on the marks of past violence in our personal and collective experience. We must notice the breakdown, the sorrow, and legacies of injustice that characterize our current world order. And from this place of honesty, we must discover how we can live among the ruins. And she wrote that way back in the comparatively untroubled year of 2007. At this moment, that breakdown and sense of sorrow seems even greater. Where can we find hope for the earth and future generations when we continue to burn fossil fuels as if the climate crisis isn't already here? Where is the hope when the unemployment check stops coming, but the job hasn't come back? Where's the hope when insurance costs become unaffordable? Where was the hope? Where was hope on the plantation, at Auschwitz, or the Trail of Tears? Where is the hope for families who have lost a loved one to police violence? Where is the hope for families who have lost a loved one to another mass shooting? Or who have been ripped apart by ICE? Where is the hope when we receive a terminal diagnosis? Where is the hope for those sleeping out on the streets? These questions are real and not hypothetical, and personal, not abstract. We must be able to sit with that sorrow and loss, whether it's our own or those we care about. which, if we are expanding that circle of love wide, should be everyone. And it's only there, once we began to sit in that sorrow, that we can act from hope. As I was thinking about this service as this solstice service, this time when we celebrate the return of the light, maybe it's important to sit here in the darkness for a moment. One of the things you can find in that darkness, of course, is rest. Because sometimes we need to take time to take care of ourselves, to take care of our loved ones, to gather up our energy. Sometimes we have to wait for the right moment, for the right season, gathering our energy like the mushrooms that have been spreading their mycelial networks underground, invisible to us, but then pop up all over, seemingly out of nowhere, when the rains come. Now, one of the other things that mushrooms do is that they share those mycelial networks weaving together. The largest life form on this planet is a giant fungus. Acres and acres large. And indeed, one of the best places to find hope is in each other. When hope is hard to find, we can bring each other hope. Walking in rain together to remind ourselves that we are not alone in our struggles. Singing songs together to inspire us. Sharing a rose to remind us that beauty always exists and that there is always something blooming. And dreaming a dream of what could be, we find the inspiration to act for that reality. The solstice tells us that light will return, but it won't banish the darkness. And we don't really want that. But it reminds us that new life will spring up. New life will spring up literally from the devastations of old. As a gardener, thinking about the way things break down at the end of the season and become the incredibly rich humus that every gardener loves to have in their garden, because it provides that strength, that vitality for what comes next. And in addition to the solstice, tonight is also the seventh night of Hanukkah. I meant to have menorah out this morning and the putting all together. We wouldn't light it, of course, because you don't light menorah candles during the day. But tonight is, of course, the seventh night of Hanukkah. It's a Jewish holiday based on the story of the Maccabees, who reclaimed their holy temple, which had been sacked by a Greek empire who had outlawed the practice of their religion. But when they went to rededicate their temple, they found that there was only one jug of oil, enough to provide light for only one night. But the miracle, of course, as so many of us know, is that the oil lasted for 8 nights. Gretchen Haley says, but I think it's important that we remember, and what makes this story especially important to us today is that there's something else miraculous that happened. Something that made the 8 nights possible in the first place, which was the choice that was made to light the lamp in the first place. Even though everything seemed hopeless, even though it seemed like their effort could not be enough. Haley writes, I've heard many people wonder what they should be doing, how to make a real difference, and what if they were doing was enough, if it really mattered. And sometimes we can get so paralyzed with this feeling that we don't do anything at all. But as we move forward together into the new year, it seems we need to do everything we can to help each other keep making the choice to light that first candle. We don't know what the future will bring in our own lives or in the world. We don't know if our actions will be enough to bring about that which we dream about, that which we hope for. But the only way they could be at all is if we try. The Hanukkah story, the Christmas story, the winter solstice, and the new year invite us to find new ways to light that first candle. As Gretchen Haley says, to wake up and take the risk of leaning into love, learning something new, relieving ourselves of some old fear or prejudice, trusting that grace will show up, that a way is still being made where it seems there is no way. May it be so. Before we sing our closing hymn, a couple of brief announcements. This Wednesday, Christmas Eve, I hope you'll join me here at 7 o'clock for our candlelight Christmas Eve service. And afterwards, we'll have a reception with cookies and cider and cocoa and probably decaf coffee. And you're invited to bring cookies or other savory snacks are, of course, welcome too. So I hope to see you there for what is always a beautiful service. And then some of you may have seen the email, but on January 4th, the first Sunday in January, we're holding a special congregational meeting to vote to name Reverend Lindy Ramsden as our emerita minister. Reverend Lindy, who served here from 1985 to 2003. And so she'll also be preaching earlier that Sunday, since it also happens to be the 40th anniversary of her ordination by this congregation. So I'm looking forward to that, and I hope to see you all there. Thank you. And there's a homeless memorial tomorrow at noon, which I believe is at Westminster Presbyterian. At 11. Thank you. And now I invite you to join me in singing our closing hymn. There is more love somewhere. Now, the lyric, please rise in body or in spirit. Now, the lyrics to this song are about looking for more love somewhere. And with each verse, we change what that word is. And I didn't actually notice it until this week, but these words, love, hope, peace, joy, are the ones we light in our Advent read. So I invite you to join me in singing our closing. this coming week, may you do at least one thing to support the broken, to welcome the stranger, to celebrate what is worthy, to do the work of justice and love. Be strong, be connected. Each day act, so you may be a little more whole. Amen.
You should be able to unmute yourself now if you want to stay and chat. Yeah. What happened with the sound there?
But on the loud side.
Yeah. Was that Susie?